Alright, welcome back to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk and You're Gonna Listen. This is my second, third, fourth, I don't know, attempt at recording this. I'm trying a new lapel mic. I'm trying the different settings on it, and I'm out in the back garden chilling. Um, if this one still sounds like crap, then we're not gonna try this thing. But I have noise canceling on, and that seems I'm hoping that that's the magic sauce. We'll see. I'm also trying to figure out if I like podcasting back here or not. But I was listening to my last attempt at this, and it was giving me like a raging headache. It was without noise suppression. It was super blown out. Oh gosh darn it! It's so weird. I guess we'll see if the noise canceling um, tunes out the AC unit. I guess this is another good test. So yeah, I was recording for like a solid hour just to kind of test it out, and it was super blown out. It really bums me out. Like I said, I've tried to record this several times now. Kind of give the give the book update, give the homestead update. Um, I don't know. I have a really bad headache, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was listening to my blown out video or my blown out audio gave me a headache, or if it's just the sun, or if I'm just like exhausted and dehydrated. I don't know. Got a killer headache now. According to my audio levels, it's not picking that up really. So like maybe this will sound okay. Um, so yeah, it's podcasts are kind of funny, right? I think I think sometimes you see behind the scenes when people forget to edit out the fact that they've like cut something two, three, four, 5 times. Some every once in a while they'll like leave it in there, and you'll see like the frustration in a podcaster is they're like re-recording it, and you don't realize that like every time you see a podcaster cut, like they probably had to retake, and it could take hours to just maybe get 10 or 20 minute usable video. So it's interesting. So if I sound kind of like bored with a topic, sometimes like I've tried to do it 2 or 3 or 4 times, and either just the technology or just my mood. And it's like, you don't want to listen to my podcast, me complaining about my headache. But at the same time, it's kind of like, what do you listen for? Do you want to know how the books are doing? Do you want to know? Do you want to know how the homestead's doing? Kind of sucks. I talked for like 20 minutes about how all the garden stuff that didn't work out, and this is kind of like I was looking at these, like the heads, like the lapel mics. They're called lavalier mics, I guess. That the YouTubers use. Um, those DJIs are like $400 or DJIs, whatever, and it's interesting. These cheap Chinese knockoffs that don't even have the don't what do I call them? They don't even have the pride to like stand behind a real brand. These Chinese mics are dog shit. And so you can get like a $30. There's no middle ground. There's like a $30 lavalier mic that's just cheap Chinese stuff, and then it's 400. There's no middle ground, and that's I don't know whose fault that is necessarily anymore. That there aren't just like decent middle ground products, which is too bad because there's decent middle ground for like earbuds, but the mics on them are dog shit. They're for phones. They're not for podcasting. And even like the boom mics, the podcasting boom mics have like horrible reviews, and so it's like $30 no name Chinese dog shit off Amazon that nobody takes responsibility for. All the reviews are free because you can see a lot of like the paid for reviews now. None of those people are podcasters. Like so anyway, so to figure this thing out, um, there's just different like light indicators, and so if I double, okay, so now the HVAC's off. We'll see how it sounds. When you double click, it goes into like echo mode, which you wouldn't know, and then you click it again, and that apparently goes into noise canceling mode. I think, and so when I practiced this the first time, it was super blown out, and then I practiced it again, and so I think it should be on noise canceling mode right now, and it sounded pretty good. It doesn't sound as good as my boom mic in the computer room, but I honestly, unless it's like in the middle of the night and like just dead ass quiet, I don't like podcasting in there. And it floors me that like DJI mics are like $400. There's no middle ground. All the other brands that act like middle ground are terrible reviews. All the same reviews on all of them. So I'm like, well, I'll get a Chinese one and figure it out. What's the worst that could happen? Um, the funny thing is, like the videos of the people that I saw testing it, like it sounded like okay. It didn't sound great, but it sounded like okay. So I was really shocked when my first attempt at this was just completely blown out. But if I can figure out a way for it to be like kind of decent, this is how I want to start podcasting because this is like way more chill. So yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna chop it here and kind of hope and pray that this is okay and this will be kind of the intro. I've I'm I don't know. Do I bother with housekeeping? That's kind of like what I was wondering. Like, do you want to hear how like the books are doing? Like, do you want to hear how the homesteads? Ooh, more gunfire. Like, do you want to hear that stuff? Like, nobody tells me what they want to hear. Or what they want to hear. I think that's the problem is like a lot of people don't know what they want, and this isn't to like shit on the other podcasters, but man, most people's videos are just them saying hi to their audience. And a lot of the video game streamers are like that too. That's not a criticism. That's not to be shitty. I think that's a valid style. But I think it's interesting, like what is content? You know, like ranting and bitching, just kind of like saying how things are. I don't know. Like I can't listen to podcasts anymore. Like it's an hour and like if you're lucky like 5 minutes of content. Like do people listen to my podcasts because they want to know how I'm doing and how I'm feeling, or do they want to just know what I think about everything? Because the problem is like so much of that, I'm gonna call it like just the algorithm bait section from now on. um I mean, it says that like people listen to like maybe like a minute of my show, so it's hard to justify putting any effort into it when some people say it's too long and then people only listen to a minute of it. I don't know, but this is kind of a test to see if I can just get the audio quality good. So, if people don't like it, I really don't know what to tell them. I I guess what I'm trying to say is like you're never gonna make everybody happy. Um, I uploaded some video gameplay of a game that was people were honk honk, the train's coming. I uploaded some video game play of a game that people are trying to troll back to the Stone Age, and instead of just supporting a good new indie game. And it's in early access. I didn't do any commentary. I just threw some gameplay in there, and I lost a bunch of subs, but I gained a bunch of view time, and that was just filler content. And that's kind of the problem, right? Like I put a shit ton of time and effort and energy and uh, technology investment into trying to make like a decent podcast, and it gets no view time and no comments. So it's like it's infuriating. Like being a content creator is legitimately infuriating. People do not know what they want, and you have to just stroke well, PSR always says you got to stroke the algorithm. You can't just like make good content for the sake of content. It has to be in short bite-sized bits. It has to be the same thing that everybody else is talking about, and it has to be the same take that everybody else is talking about. You are not rewarded for having an independent thought or just speaking your feelings. It has to be the same shit as everybody else, and it has to be saying the same groupthink as everybody. So like I talk about how my books are doing, like nobody cares. I talk about how my homestead's doing, nobody cares. Gotta talk about gotta stroke the algorithm. So we'll see if this audio quality is good, and then we'll proceed to stroke the algorithm and see how it goes. About anything. Look, an abandoned bunker. Let's go. Let's go. Found a bunker deep in the woods. Supply stacked high, it feels so good. Hiding out neath the leafy hood. Gonna help others try to get through. Okay, actually that was pretty good. Okay, algorithm stroking time. So a bunch of things have happened. I didn't really want to talk about any of them because I kind of don't care. Um, but the algorithm cares. So it's too late now, but we're gonna pretend. Oh, the neighbor's horses have keyed in on something that's going on. They are like freaking guard dogs. Horses are giant dogs, and kind of like with a cat. They're really keyed in on something that's going on over there. Weird. It's a good thing cats. It's a good thing horses don't have like laser eyes or like rocket launchers or something. Anyway, I have a feeling they would kill everything if they could. Um. So let's see. The longshoremen strike. What a joke. Unions in general, absolute joke. Uh, the longshoremen, pussies. Uh, they're not gonna follow through. The union leader guy, chicken shit. Absolutely, the dude's absolutely rich beyond imagination. Uh, just wants to get more rich. He torpedoed his own movement before it could get started because of the giant raging Richie Rich that he portrayed that they were able to portray him as. Completely torpedoed his own movement. I call the longshoremen pussies because they're not going to follow through. Um, However, I think that if there was ever going to be like a last, there's a plane going by. I don't know how much that's coming through. If they were going to try to make a stand, this is the last chance that they have to make a stand. And I say that because they could very easily get replaced by automation and AI. But so could everybody at Amazon and most of the people at USPS and yeah, basically almost everybody, people that pick fruit. Like some idiot on Twitter was like engagement click rage baiting conservatives being like, you guys wouldn't do this, and then they showed a bunch of the implication was that they were showing migrant workers picking up vegetables in a field, which was not true. But it doesn't matter if it's true; it works for the engagement bait. And ah, hopefully the lapel mic sound suppression suppresses that. I'm just gonna try to talk over it, and we'll see how it goes. This is all a test. So the implication was, it's a bunch of illegals or immigrants, doing work that white people won't do, uh, which is all just engagement bait bullshit. It's based on false premises and everything, and nobody even took the bait, which is pretty funny. Uh, they just called them out, and they're like, "This is a fake video," basically. And people on Twitter have gotten like shockingly good at just saying, "No, this is a fake video." Like, come up with a real video of the real thing happening if you're going to try to bait everybody. Um, and both sides, I think, have been coming up with like fake videos. They're not completely fake, but they lack the con. What? How do you even say that? They're kind of like caricatures of things that look like they would support the argument that they're trying to make, but they don't. But they could if the pretenses were in context was actually what they're portraying it to be. Anyway, so the dude just got torn apart, and then he tried, but he said something interesting that by then he lost everybody and he lost the argument because there was no argument to be had. And he said, "Well, what should a living wage be for?" The implication would really be day workers, is really what he's saying. People were just shredding him as he's like, dude, they were like, you've never worked on a farm in your life. You don't know anybody who works on a farm. You don't live anywhere near a farm. And he's like, well, I should be able to talk about farms anyway. But really what he was saying is like, what should be the compensation for like I guess like uneducated day working, which isn't an insult. It's just like you pick the thing and you set it up in the thing, and really you're being compensated to destroy your body. Um, take that for what you will, because that's a lot of jobs, right? Don't pretend that like longshoremen do anything special or that people in warehouses do anything special. However, they are destroying their body for not a lot of money. Although I could say the same thing for military that are running around carrying way too heavy of a backpack all day long and screwing up their knees and their back, and or guys that are working in the Navy that were just getting their ears destroyed. Um, so, not that they're not uneducated. The point is, really, what I'm trying to say is like, how much is your body worth? And it's like, is your body worth more because you're in the military, or is your body worth more because you're a day worker, or is your body worth more because you're in a warehouse? Um, the answer is your body, whether or if you're just a prostitute, your body's only worth whatever people are going to pay for it, right? And so the guy is like, well, what should be a living wage for day workers? It's like people aren't paying them. People already aren't paying them based on what their body's worth. They're being paid on what they're able to negotiate slash what the market's actually able to afford. And longshoremen make metric shit tons of money, and you can tell. And the person that runs it is fucking rich beyond belief. So, but is that because they were able to negotiate, or is that more because so much money comes through there that there's enough money to actually support higher wages? And so I got to thinking, like, if you were going to pay day workers based on how much money they brought in the grand scheme of things, like, they probably should be getting paid a lot more. However, I don't necessarily think that that's the problem. I think the problem is, why isn't there a common, how do I say this, a common value put to people's bodies? Um, I worked in receiving in a warehouse for quite a while, and it was almost like a meat grinder. I think in one of my books, in fact, maybe it was even like my first book, where I was like, they don't even have to change how many days it's been since somebody got hurt. Um, Dude, the ambulance was there like 3 times a night. It was a fucking meat grinder. Um, it sucked. I felt horrible, horrible, horrible for those people. And the manager, the night foreman used to say to people, "Hey, how's your back today?" And based on how people said their backs were, is like where he would put them. So if someone was doing a little bit better, he would give them a little bit harder work, which I thought was amazing. I've never, and since then and until then, I have never seen another manager anywhere actually like assign work based on how people's bodies were doing. That's crazy, right? So, um, the whole world would have to collectively agree that their bodies were worth a certain amount. But I don't think that that would necessarily still equate to what a living wage is, because living wage is bullshit, right? We're just going right back into commie. We're going right back into commie territory. Um, I don't even know how the world, like, the price of everything would be astronomical, and then the horses. All it would take is Japan making a bunch of robots, and they would just completely price the whole rest of the world out of labor, and they would still unilaterally like unemploy like the whole planet. I just pick out Japan because Japan likes robots. Like, even in an absolutely perfect utopian society where people get paid some kind of reasonable, responsible amount for jacking their bodies up. But part two of that would be like, you'd have to have an actually reasonable retirement age, so they would still have like a quality of life left, which means like their pensions and their health care would have to be insane. And we don't even have that for like football players now, with what's it called, TDI or whatever, that concussion thing. Like, forget it. Like, the planet just doesn't have like the empathy to figure those things out. However, it doesn't matter because people would Japan would just have robots that played football. Like it's nuts. It's I don't know why I keep picking on Japan, but I just think Japan. I think robots. So how? Why? Like and Hollywood. Like Hollywood's gonna get replaced by AI. Now, don't get me wrong. Like we don't have the transmission lines to support the data centers to support all this AI and automation right now, but we will in about 3 years, based on a lot of the lawsuits and negotiations for how these data centers are going to get paid for. So, like, what I appreciate that the longshoremen are trying, or at least on paper, saying that they were going to try, but you would need all of the dock workers in the whole US and Mexico and Canada. You'd need them all to strike, and you would need them all to try to figure out and solve what a living wage to them looks like. But I think it would have to be a living wage as a single person. Uh, Otherwise, they'll give you a half a living wage until your wife or husband are there. I'm assuming there's longshore gals. Uh, I don't think the world economy is ever going to rebalance income, for single person income, with health insurance, taxes, you name it. Like they're trying to bleed every penny they can from people. So what longshoremen have to do is figure out what a livable income for a single person supporting an entire family is, and they would need everybody to agree on it. And they need to figure out what inflation is so they can just slightly keep ahead of inflation somehow. And they have to also make sure that everybody isn't just going to completely raise prices to match it. Like it I don't know how you solve those problems. I really don't. Um, but I say they're pussies because they're just going to back down, just like Hollywood did. Hollywood backed down. They got nothing. They think they got nothing. Uh, they're all going to be replaced by AI. The voice actors are all going to get replaced by AI. The scripts are going to get like, give me a break. It's so stupid. They caved. They didn't even know what they wanted, and they caved. Um, so as soon as the server farms are ready, about 3 years, Hollywood will be done. The robots still need new batteries, but once the robots get new batteries, like they're all being trained right now, uh, 80% unemployment. It's going to be like 80% unemployment. It's going to be absolutely unreal. And yeah, what's going to happen then? Mass civil unrest. So regardless of who's president here in a couple weeks, um, it's inevitable either way. Like you can bring more jobs to America, and that's great, and that actually insulates us from the longshoremen being silly billies. Um, but it's still going to be automated. Like you can't, and I think it should be. I think it should be automated. I don't think it's sustainable for everybody to just like break their bodies and then retire just like a destroyed human being. I think there's got to be better. I think there's got to be a better way out there. I don't know if that's throwing people on starships and having them explore the stars, or making some kind of a sequest vehicle and going in the oceans, but like humanity deserves better than to just be destroying their bodies. I don't agree with the Wally future where everyone just gets fat and floats around on the giant commie ship. But like there's got to be better things that we can like figure out to do other than to like, just break our bodies getting food and breaking bodies moving boxes around. Unless we're just never going to get out of the like Neanderthal phase where 80% of people don't have two brain cells to rub together anyway, and they just want to go back to watching football like Idiocracy. And it's like, I guess if everybody just wants to be freaking morons and manual labor is all they can just barely do, then like whatever. I don't know. It's like a scary thought, right? Like I don't know where we go from here. So I have a hard time giving a shit about the longshoremen going on strike. Like the government's going to shut down and ping pong back and forth anyway. Um, I mean, World War III is coming anyway. There's going to be global supply shortages anyway. We're still like the Fed is going to bounce back. The stock market's going to crash. The Fed's going to try to take over the stock market. They're going to try to lock down crypto. The cities are still just completely falling apart. Like your buying power is being eroded every day. The houses are going to homeless and illegals. And the USPS, I think a lot of them they can't strike. A lot of that's going to be automated. It's going to be rough. And then everybody's blaming everybody, but they don't realize that like everybody's screwed. People are saying like, "Oh, they should lay off 80% of the government." Ha ha ha. And it's like I got like bad news for people, but like every company is going to lose like 80%. Like that's just going to be the way it is. Like the government's not going to be able to function any better than everybody else is. They will for like a little while, but they're going to get furloughed. I was talking with somebody about like the courts and like how like evictions just got completely stopped up. Like evictions, social security, and a bunch of things just got like just completely stopped when the government shut down. And then eventually food cards run out of money. It's a real mess. Um, when people like can't get evicted anymore, it causes like a lot of problems. But there's other things that you need to go to court for too. But shoot, I can't remember what it was. But it's just like the the government just like stopping working doesn't really have the intended consequences that people think it does. And so they're like, why do they even need unions? Why do they even need this? Why do they even need that? Their unions are useless. Just like, and you can go watch the USPS videos. Like their unions, a lot of them just don't do anything for them. Like the unions are a uniparty with the government and corporate. It is all one big uniparty, just like the left and the right. And I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, FEMA only gave people $750." It's like that's what got passed. Um, so if you don't like it, but here's the thing, like you might ask, why did it get passed? Well, because it was just another spending thing that was just driving us further in debt. Like really hard decisions have to happen to get through this. Like, people in Europe like lose their mind over just having to like not being able to retire for like another year or two. When you realize that there are no pensions, there is no 401k, your savings is going to evaporate. I'm not saying go get gold because that's problematic too. But like, you're not going to retire. So to kind of like loop back around with what I said at the beginning, like if you're someone out there that's like breaking your body right now, you have to try to figure out how to get out of that loop because you're not going to be able to retire, so you have to find something sustainable. So back to like shitty Chinese products, like that's why there's a lot of people that just drop ship cheap shitty Chinese products. But what happens if the longshoremen stop importing shitty Chinese products? Like their jobs are going to be dead too. And then there isn't going to be Amazon drivers and USPS people driving around shitty Chinese stuff. And you also have the fact that like once the elections are over, the amount of stuff that needs to be delivered goes way down. But you're going to have Christmas where it goes way back up. But man, I tell you what, like this is a very delicate ecosystem that we have going right now. And that's why I think the Fed's going to jack rates up because there's one person that owns all the T-bills and they want that nice juicy interest. You got Cackles McGee that has no clue what's going on. I thought she was going to be going to sleep after they got all of her her campaign money, but she's still around and her emotional support moron. And it's just that guy and then these campaign ads. I don't know what they're doing, like, and I don't think they know what they're doing. But it doesn't matter who's in charge. We're screwed no matter what. I just think it's funny that there's people out there that think one side or the other is going to change everything. Like the time to prepare is almost gone. And that's one of the big reasons why I wasn't doing a podcast. Besides the fact that I was just besides the fact that I was working on the homestead like crazy because this beautiful weather is just like I'm I'm way more comfortable when I see like when I see the signs that like we're for sure like locked in a direction because I've seen it a million times. It's those points of unsureness where like I'm way more rambly and speculative as I try to figure out like what way the direction's gonna go, what way the wind's gonna blow in the sails. But we've been like locked and loaded in this trajectory for a couple months, and so I haven't really felt a need to podcast that much. The cities are screwed. Um, the city is nastier almost than before they made their concerted effort to clean it up. So it was actually almost sort of ish cleaned up there for like a month or two. Uh, and whether that was because it was like summer and touristy season and they were trying to, I don't know. But like they tried to bring back their drug program, their deflection centers, their rehab centers. They tried to kick everybody out for camping. I want to say it like lasted maybe 2 months. And now the gang violence, the tents and tarps and RVs, and it is worse, almost worse than it's ever been. Um, I forgot my point of all that. But like commercial real estate is, I'm sure they're trying to make it till Christmas now. But like, dude, commercial real estate's in like free fall. Um, they can't put homeless in them. I've talked about all this before, and that's kind of the thing. Is like I would just be repeating myself because this is what I've been talking about. It's finally happening. It's finally here. They've There's just been potentially a third attempt on the Orange Man. Um, I don't know all the details. I think they stopped him before he could get too close, but he sounded like a total Looney Tune. Um, like the other side's just gaslighting the shit out of everybody. Like every single thing, and yeah, Middle East going nuts, escalating. Uh, Ukraine, Russia going nuts, escalating. Every single thing is on the exact trajectory. So like I don't need to stroke the algorithm. Whoops. I don't need to stroke the algorithm by talking about it over and over and over and over and over again. Like everybody else can do that. Um, the hurricane thing. Uh, Everybody else did an amazing job talking about the hurricanes. Like I guess so. I guess this is like topic number 2. So I'll chop it here, and then we'll talk about the hurricanes a bit.
Ready to take charge, turning bolts and bars, fix the battle scars, armor plates on the side, guns mounted up high, in the desert it will glide, my battle wagon we will ride. Fight the tyranny, freedom's cavalry, this old truck will be our symbol of liberty. Engine roar like a beast, from the west to the east, through the dust we press, never gonna rest. Wheels crush the sand, weapons in our hands, against oppression we stand, in freedom's mountain lands. Fight the tyranny, freedom's cavalry, this old truck will be our symbol of liberty. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wheels crush the sand, weapons in our hands, against oppression we stand, in freedom's mountain lands. Fight the tyranny, freedom's cavalry, this old truck will be our symbol of liberty. Ride with my dog and gun rack, missiles mounted firmly in the back. Press forward, technicals attack, Toyota Hilux taking our country back. Yeah. Oh, wow. Jump on in this room for your backpack. Press forward, Hilux dotted flag. Old flatbed has an arsenal stack. America taking her country back.
All right, so welcome back. Thank you. Hurricanes. One of the other reasons why I was really holding off doing a podcast is like the hurricane thing. I was really kind of divided over how to approach it, and so sometimes instead of saying something really shitty, even though like if you're listening this far, like thank you. But just in case somebody did listen to it, like I didn't want to say really something really shitty about the Appalachians, the Appalachians, uh, getting wiped out. What, two hurricanes ago? Um, there are so I'm not gonna like tread carefully, but I'm gonna like temper my initial like what my initial reaction was. Uh, First, I'll say like I don't think they could have survived what happened. Um, so there's that. It was kind of like something that's like a 100 year sort of a deal, or even some of these like way overdue like 10 year. Like we used to have like a 10 year kind of a flood here. We're like 15 years overdue for like our 10 year flood, which is really scary. Um, Here in the Pacific Northwest, where it's like surprise, 10 feet of water, eat a dick. Good luck for a couple days. There's a lot of people, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. Just a lot of people aren't going to survive those. There is you can prep for them, but you got to remember that like on a basic level, prepping just means like surviving it somehow. It doesn't mean having like an ironclad bunker that's gonna survive it. Like FEMA and all them have to, those like emergency service places have to make like special purpose built like just one building so they could at least have some kind of command center. Every city has like a handful of them, maybe one. If they're lucky, they have like two, and it's going to be at the highest spot. It's going to be built out of freaking concrete, like basically a vault, and they all go hunker down, and that's the command center. Everybody else is kind of like good luck because floods, number one, don't live underneath a dam. You're just I so I guess I'll say I'll start with that. I don't feel bad for anybody that got wiped out that lived under a dam, and I never will, because time has shown over and over and over again the rampant corruption of not maintaining those dams and not managing those dams properly. If you live underneath one, you've got it coming. And that sucks, and I hate to say that. It's true, though. Uh, Dams that are not managed properly, you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. And I can't help you. It sucks and it's unfortunate, but that's the reality of that. So just rip that bandage off. Everybody else, though, um, I've heard a lot of different like excuses, and I think like it's going to take months and months and months and months to figure out like town by town why, like what the lessons learned were for why like the towns all got wiped out as bad as they did. I don't think all of them were because of the dam. A lot of it could have just been flash flooding, and I don't know, and I don't think we will know for months and months. So that was part of like why I didn't just like rush to judgment on a podcast to be like, these are my thoughts and feelings, because like a lot of those people weren't going to survive, and or I mean at least their material belongings weren't going to survive is what I meant to say. Um, so that's part one of that. Part two is the response was dog shit, um, from FEMA, but I think everyone's grown to expect this now. I think um, I think what people didn't expect was like Hawaii Maui 2.0, where everybody trying to save each other gets kiboshed. Um, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of that mentality started during the Rona, where local law enforcement and FEMA kind of got taught that they needed to hoard everything, even when the supply lines were still getting, even if the supply lines are still getting refilled. They were never taught that cute little caveat. So during the Rona, there was no masks or isopropyl coming, and so they hoarded it all. Now, I'm not gonna definitively say that's a right or wrong decision. However, if we were in an extinction level like bioweapon outbreak, it does make sense to hoard that stuff, I guess. But there's no reason to hoard all the food and water when it needs to be distributed. That's dumb, and I think that's comes from the Rona training. Um, I think a lot of people's hands should have been slapped. I think if the three letters were doing what they were supposed to do, I don't know which one of the three letters should have done it, but one of the three letters should have went up there and said, "Hey, um, you guys need to get this shit distributed. Stop sitting on it." Um, if you've got like the churches distributing it, you've got the airports distributing it, everyone's distributing it, and then all of a sudden you've got like some rogue sheriff's department that's just like sitting on it all for some reason, which is weird because they're kind of like locally elect. They're sheriffs are like elected, so if they're I don't know what the legal avenue is if like just the sheriff's department decides to just start hoarding everything. That being said, it happened during the Rona. However, that could have easily been like an extinction level bioweapon. So I'm kind of okay with that for a very limited amount of time until the truth comes out. Sheriffs hoarding food and medical aid is just weird. And I don't know what the avenue is to remedy that other than tell the entire planet about it and apply pressure until they release said hoarded goods. That's insane to me. That should never happen. Um, so those are kind of my thoughts on the Appalachians. I know they're fiercely independent. Um, they also thought that they were just unwavering, absolute badasses, and then a lot of people just suddenly turned to just crying online about it. But the more I looked into that, the more I really think that the people blubbering about it weren't the people from the Appalachians because the Appalachians didn't have internet for weeks, which was another F up. And I know a lot of people lost their lives up there, and that's terrible. But again, I don't know how much of that was necessarily avoidable. And I think that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in somebody diving into how much of that life loss, which I believe is to be substantial, was avoidable. Um, so that's interesting. I think a lot of people up there though like aren't fiercely independent. There are lefty loos up there too, and I wonder. Not that anybody deserves it or doesn't deserve it, even though I said don't live beneath a dam that's being mismanaged. Although it's funny that got I was talking to some people about that, and that got community noted, and they're like, "Well, actually, the dam didn't fail, and actually, it wasn't being mismanaged." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really not what I heard." Uh, but I think a lot of that info got buried. There, like I said earlier, there's plenty of precedents of dams being mismanaged in the past and being extremely dangerous. So it's not like some conspiracy theory. Just it's just going to take a long time for the truth to come out. But the reason why I think the Appalachians being fiercely independent and then all the people blubbering online right after it happened was the conspiracy theory that they were being too vocal about being independent, and so some three-letter agency redirected a hurricane right on top of them. Uh, I think that's giving the three-letter agencies way too much credit. It's the same thing as 9/11. I don't think they could have orchestrated 9/11 if their lives depended on it, because I don't think they're competent enough to orchestrate themselves out of a paper bag, let alone something like that. Bless their hearts. That all comes from a South Park episode where they're like, our entire power structure is based on people believing that we could actually do these things. It's a very widely regarded South Park episode. um, I don't. Yeah, I don't think they would they do that if they could, probably, but uh, you know, a chance to wipe out some of your enemy voter base right before the elections. I think there's a lot of compelling reasons why something like that could definitely why people could think that that's a thing for sure. Um, but giving them way too much credit. Do I think FEMA intentionally only gave people $750? No, I think that was a voted in thing, and I think it was a voted in thing because of just the massive deficit. Uh, However, there's still tens of billions going to two foreign battles going on right now, so it's and all the illegals that are just getting just metric shit tons of money. So I got into it with a very far lefty, and I just think it's adorable how much they defend their own side, while absolutely, I can't think of the right word, just lambasting the other side for complaining about the things that they're doing. Like, they constantly, and all the while it all just being like one big uniparty. Um, they don't see the irony. They don't see the irony. So, like, how much would you get? How much would you let FEMA just give out? Never mind that the money is completely useless when all your infrastructure is destroyed anyway, which I find wildly amusing. You give everyone $750 when their house is basically wiped off the map and there's no grocery stores. Never mind that, like, BlackRock's going to come in and try to buy everybody's houses or settle out of court and just buy it all. So, what good is any money to them at all? And so, how much money would be enough? You argue with Lefty Loos, and all they do is gaslight the other side, but they don't have any answers. So I was talking to this lefty, far lefty Lou, just blasting conservatives, and I just listened and nodded my head and said, "Yeah, those dumb conservatives." This went on for quite a while. Not a single answer, not a single solution. They're not solution oriented. All they can do is just sit there and gaslight and gaslight and gaslight and on and on and on. Those stupid Republicans, those stupid Republicans, those stupid Republicans. On and on and on and on. I'm just like, yeah. And then all of a sudden leaping to the defense of unions. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And of course, the guy is rich. Of course he's rich. And I'm just like, holy shit. You guys, this is cute coming from the Eat the Rich party. And it's always like, so it's okay if your own side's rich. It's okay if your own side screws everybody. Instead of like, why not just the raging hypocrisy on both sides and try to figure out some solution that would actually work? Oh, because it's not cool to come up with solutions it's not cool to try to come up with something that works for everybody. Like, all unions do is delay the inevitable. Like, we don't need them anymore. People would be getting paid more without unions. What do you think your union dues go to? What if the money, instead of it going to union dues, just went into your pocket? And it's the same thing with, whoops, it's the same thing with taxes. Like, you could just, if they wanted to save people money, if they wanted to give more money to people, they could just lower taxes, right? I don't. There's so many just like shit-eating obvious like solutions to all this. Like, they have these like inflation reduction programs, and the other one, I keep calling it Build Back Better, but I keep forgetting the name of the other one. But like, just lower interest rates, just build more houses, and close the border to illegals, like, and deport all the illegals, and fix actually like fix voting and make it to where everybody actually is like represented. But they don't want to do those things. They would rather just like gaslight the shit out of each other. Then the uniparty pats each other on the back, tells everybody to go back in the office while they all fuck off at home, and then tell you that it's all Orange Man's fault, even though on the spectrum of things he's still pretty liberal. And then they steal his policies anyway. It's pretty funny. Like, I'm not pro Orange Man. He's not actually like that conservative, in my opinion. Um, there's only probably like maybe two senators, or are they senators, that are probably like as conservative as I'd want them to be, which isn't really a left wing or a right wing thing. It's like literal, like, just axing. So probably what I would do is I would probably ludicrously boost military spending and border spending, and then I would probably cut the shit out of Medicare and Medicaid, Social Security. I'd probably cut it all until we could balance the budget. And then I would probably have to, like, if I was magically in charge tomorrow, and then I would probably have to completely redesign the entire healthcare system. And I can't remember which, if it was like Bush Jr. or which one was trying to do it, but I would have to cap lawsuits. I would have to like somehow dramatically reduce what doctors can get sued for, so I could like lower their insurance. And then I would probably like try to pass that savings on to everybody. Like, you guys don't understand, to go get a check, to go get a 15-minute checkup, the doctor's office wanted to charge me like $415 for a completely normal, just come in and get your prescriptions redone. $415. Do you think that's like a Republican or a Democrat problem? Like, what the fuck is that? That's insane. What is that? And like the fact that you can have like a whole hospital that only has like one surgeon. Like, there is like a medical, like, Medicare, Medicaid, it's all, Social Security is all going to be like insolvent. Um, it's insane. Like, you'd have to, like, if you were in charge, you would have to make insanely hard decisions. But you'd have to find a way to like articulate it and communicate it in a way to where people, you know, would have to actually like have more than two brain cells to rub together to like realize what you're trying to do. Like, I think it would be hard though, because you already have, the fact that the clot shot's like making so many people sick. I think what you'd have to be able to do is let people sue like big pharma back to the Stone Age. And then you'd have to, this is kind of like a Luke Radowski thing. You'd have to like actually promote people like living healthily again. Like people would have to actually start living healthily. But I think also, like, going back to what I said at the beginning, like people would have to be like working in ways to where they to where they weren't like breaking their bodies and just jacking health insurance up through the roof. Like, we would have to start like actually living like sustainably. We would have to get off tons of medications. You want to bring the cost of medications down really fast. Get people off all these freaking medications they don't need to be on, which I know requires like a lot more doctors and stuff. But like, I think we could get there. I think if America was like a way healthier country, we could lower like our insurance premiums by a lot. By a lot. I didn't realize I had, or not that I didn't realize it, like, I think a couple of pharmacists had tried to tell me, but finally this one pharmacist was like, you shouldn't be taking this with this. It's going to do this. And I had been like thinking about it backwards. I had been thinking that I had another problem when really I think just these two meds were interacting with each other. Paddle moocher. And then so I stopped taking this med because it was interacting with this other med. And like my quality of life like went way up. It's not like perfect, like I don't want to give away like a ton of medical details, but like obviously I recommend seeing doctors, XYZ, blah blah blah. None of this is medical advice. But one of the things that I thought was anxiety attacks, not to say that those aren't a real thing or anything, but I think it was like two meds that were interacting with each other. Uh, Obviously, anxiety attacks are real, and I think I still have them. But I thought that was like, now I can definitely tell the difference, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I thought it was pretty. Oh, the cow and the horse are going to start. The cow is calling over to the horse, and now the horse is going to go see what the cow is talking about. Um, I don't own any horses or cows, but I can see them all from my porch. They are so funny, and there's the train. So I think those are like the two topics that I want to cover. Um, I still want to try to keep this to an hour. I still want to try to not waste everybody's time, but I wanted to kind of get that like rant out at the beginning, both to just test the audio and to kind of rant a little bit. Like my garden's doing really well. The homesteading's doing really well. The books and the music and everything, the little AI music, I think everything's going fine. Um, I think it's just a matter of, if you guys want me to keep doing these, then you need to actually support me doing these by, you know, throwing a like on there, throwing a comment on there, actually listening to the whole thing. Um, I think people don't. I was talking to CDK about this. Like, people don't realize like how much you fuck a YouTuber by like pausing the video at the first second and thumbs up and commenting and then shutting the video off. You have no idea how much you fuck YouTubers when you do that. The algorithm thinks that you like hate the video and it won't recommend it to anybody. So if you've listened to this far, thank you. You just, oh, that one cow is calling all the other cows in. Onward, Moocher Army. You guys just don't realize like how disappointing it is to like bust my ass on a podcast with the technology and the time and effort and energy and the time it takes out of my day for the editing and fucking all of it, to have it see, oh, people watched it for a minute and 18 seconds. Oh, fuck you guys. Like, and I think it's because it's like, it's algorithm bait, right? Like, people want the algorithm bait. They want the no attention span. They don't really want to hear, oh, run battle moochers. Oh, run battle moochers. Man, they can run so fast. People want the algorithm bait. They don't want to hear how I'm doing. And I think that bugs me. And that's why it's like, fuck you, I don't want to do these. Like, I don't want to, when the world is in like autopilot self-destruction mode, what can I say that I haven't already said 1,000 times? Like, keep preparing. Obviously, like, the cities are dog shit. The city is dog shit. Nobody wants to work here. Nobody wants to live here. Move out to the country. Like, get the fuck out. But don't move somewhere and then keep voting the same and like fuck everything up again. Um, and don't leave an area if it's worth fighting for. But like, what else can I say? I don't want to be. I don't want to. I don't want to chase the algorithm and say the same thing that 20 or 30 other fucking YouTubers are talking about. And a lot of them are my friends. And I don't hate on them for it. There's nothing wrong with chasing the algorithm. Uh, I just I other people already cover the topics way better than me, and if they're already saying the thing that that I agree with, and they're saying what my point is, then go watch them. They do a better job than me. Hudson Valley and Southern Prepper One and Trent, obviously, like survival living vision. Trent Vision Preparedness, like Luke Radowski, We Are Change. Like, they all already do a way better job than me. So, and Marfugel. So if they're all saying exactly the same thing, and I don't have anything to add, then I'm comfortable with not jumping in on that. I go show them support instead. And I wait until I think I have something else to add. Now, that doesn't chase the algorithm, and so that doesn't get me any views or clicks, but at least I feel like I'm not just chasing, not, I'm not just repeating everything that everybody else is saying. they all have the same point of views, and the same responses most of the time. And it's not that I disagree with them. Sometimes I have a little more to add. And they're all killing it. They're all doing great. So I just kind of chime in when I have a little bit of extra sauce to throw in. And I'm comfortable with that. I just wish that everybody else could be comfortable with that. And that's why I'm not in a huge rush to do these podcasts, because people don't seem to want to chime in to just hear me and just be happy. Be happy that I'm doing things. They want these to be something that they're never going to be. So, hope that makes sense. And I'm going to chop this one here and hope that the audio quality is really good. As long as the audio is not blown out, I'm going to be happy, but we'll have to see. Oh, the geese. The geese are starting to geese. I'll leave you guys with this. Speaking about the city stuff and the geese reminded me. I really wonder how, like, the cities being brighter and brighter and brighter, and the LEDs being brighter and brighter and brighter, and the condos and more lights and more condos in the cities. I wonder how that's going to screw up the migratory patterns of all the birds. And then not only that, I'll leave you with this: like, LEDs on trucks and cars, and then trying to tell people to drive into the office. Fucking bullshit. Some of these trucks and cars, I 100% truly believe that their lights are illegally pointed up at too high a degree of an angle. I don't remember what it is for NHTSA, the National Highway Patrol, or National Highway Safety, but those LED lights are supposed to be pointed down. And dude, I swear, I used to complain about semis having too bright of lights. Some of these, like, SUVs and cars and stuff, like, dude, I'm talking about like white out blind. And I don't notice it during the summer, but now I'm commuting in the dark, and soon it's going to be commuting in the dark both ways, and you're just blind, and it's infuriating. And I think if National Highway Safety ever got bored, just like if the FCC ever got bored and went after phone scammers, National Highway Safety, someone's driving a big block. That's a different person that has the muscle cars. Anyway, National Highway Safety should be suing some of these fucking car companies back to the Stone Age. I legitimately believe that these LEDs are like pointed at like an illegal angle, which is the lights aren't supposed to be going into your mirrors and directly into your eyes. Especially not both of your mirrors. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Anyway, Bob, preaching to the choir. I hope this turns out okay, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Go back to the office so you can have organic hallway conversations and probably die and nobody will care. Oh, and we're out of coffee pods and there's no food here, so go contend with the fent heads outside, and we've disarmed you. Good luck. Welcome to the city. Population, fuck you. The city is dog shit. Nobody wants to live here. Nobody wants to work here. Everyone's walking to nowhere. The stores are all boarded up. You can't walk on the sidewalk because there's so much drugs and trash and tents and feces, and it all smells like piss, and it